What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to revisit two of my favorite small subwoofers, the SVS Micro 3000 and the KEF KC62. And I'm also going to answer a question that I get in the comments section quite a lot. Every now and then I'll review a subwoofer that's on the larger side, and someone will ask me, how does it compare to the SVS Micro or the KEF KC62? Or the opposite will happen, where I'll review a small subwoofer and someone will ask me how it compares to something 2 and 3 times its size. And I think there's a lot of things that people are perhaps missing when they ask that question, and they're not realizing that subwoofer size is a big factor, even if they have the same amount of wattage, for example, even if they're the same price, right? So let's just jump into these two bad boys and revisit them real quick. So both subwoofers, absolutely fantastic and absolutely tiny, and they're both going to give you incredible bass for the money and size. And if you don't realize how small they are, I want to make one thing absolutely clear. These two subwoofers are tiny. They are both of these subwoofers right now are sitting on top of what I consider a normal sized subwoofer. Both of these are sitting on top of a Rhythmic FVX12 that's about the same size as an SVS PB2000. That is by no means SVS's largest subwoofer. The Rhythmic FVX12 is by no means Rhythmic's largest subwoofer. It's kind of your standard ported 12, and you can see there's a ton of space here still. I could put a drink down, I can put my cell phone down and a pair of keys, and it still wouldn't be too jam-packed. So these two guys are tiny. Both have a ton of great features. The SVS has some unique features. The KEF KC62 has some unique features. For the SVS, what it's going to be is that cell phone app, and for the KEF KC62, its unique feature is going to be its ability to high pass to your main speakers. But both have a ton of features. Both have really good bass. Both have really good output for their size. Both sound absolutely incredible. Their sound is going to be slightly different. The SVS is going to be a little bit heavier handed. So those of you that like to notice your bass, you like it to be impactful and strong, the SVS is going to be a great option. Those of you that like your bass to be a little bit cleaner, come more from the background, more enhance your music, the KEF KC62 is going to be fantastic. And despite being much smaller, the KEF KC62 actually extends quite a bit lower, and is going to have really good extension, especially at lower volumes. Now, the SVS Micro, being just a little bit larger, can play louder. So those of you that want absolutely as much bass as you can possibly get from an ultra compact design may prefer the SVS. Those of you that are going for as much extension as possible and perhaps don't listen the loudest may prefer the KEF KC62. Either one you end up with is going to be fantastic and put a smile on your face. So here's the thing though, the question of how do they compare to larger subwoofers? Well, not favorably, guys. And what can we really expect here? These guys are tiny. Now look, if you have no subwoofer at all and you add something like an SVS Micro to a room that is way too large for it, it's still going to sound better than having no subwoofer at all. So it's not like using these subwoofers in larger rooms is going to be a terrible idea. However, if you can fit something larger, you ought to buy something larger. Both companies make larger subwoofers. These are the smallest subwoofer offered by each company. SVS's own SB1000, in fact, can play louder than the Micro. So when people ask questions like, how does a Micro or KC62 compare to something like an RSL Speedwoofer, a Rhythmic F12, SVS's own PB1000, KEF's own KF92, Rel's Predator 1510. Well, they still sound really good, but they can't match the output. They absolutely cannot match the output or the sense of scale provided by larger subwoofers. And I think what's happening here is people are either comparing based on price only or wattage only and not taking physical size into consideration, or perhaps you just don't realize how small these guys are. So let me give you an example here. So the KEF KF92 has 1,000 watts RMS. That's a hell of a lot of power. I think some of you guys see that wattage spec and assume it can play like something like a Rel Predator 1510 that also has 1,000 watts. Except the difference is the Rel Predator 1510 is like 6 times the size. It's got a 15-inch driver. Its sense of scale, its ability to handle huge dynamic swings, play low frequencies at tremendous volumes is going to be on another level compared to something so small. SVS didn't make the Micro 3000, nor did KEF make the KC62 to replace large subwoofers. No, sir. They made these subwoofers for people who have a need for small subwoofers. And again, that's people with unique placement needs, people who need a high wife acceptance factor, or those of you that are super tight on space. Let me give you some example of people that are super tight on space. Someone like me, for example, I don't have any floor space in my living room. I have nowhere to put a subwoofer. The only spot I've got is on top of my media console. And that's not a place most people would choose to put a subwoofer. You definitely wouldn't put an SVS PB2000 up there. You definitely wouldn't put a Rel Predator 1510 up there. It would just look absolutely ridiculous. You'd really want the smallest subwoofer you could fit up there, and that's going to be one of these two. Hell, there's a guy in my Discord that has a KEF KC62 because his living room, he's got this beautiful built-in, I don't want to say media console, but I guess you could say like it's a media wall, if you will. The entire main wall is all shelving. It looks absolutely fantastic. And the KEF KC62 sits behind his TV. Incredible. There's not many subs you can fit in such unique placement scenarios, right? There's other people still who, you know, they have a really narrow space and they maybe want a pair of subwoofers and they want as much output as possible. They might do something like a pair of these SVS Micros. So just to be clear here, guys, small subwoofers, no matter how good they are, they can't do what bigger subwoofers can do, even if those bigger subwoofers are cheaper, you know. There's a point where these are better, you know. I'm not talking about like a couple $100 subwoofer here, you know what I mean? If you buy like a $200 subwoofer off of Amazon, you know, either one of these is going to be able to play louder, most likely. But I'm talking about respectable brands, like think RSL Speedwoofer 10S Mark II and up, nothing below that, right? So I hope this has helped answer that question. If anyone's considering these two subwoofers today, I still highly recommend them. I still love both of them. I think they're absolutely fantastic. The KEF KC62 I own, so it's just going right back upstairs to sit on top of my media console. The Micro 3000 has been on loan from SVS as a review sample for almost a year now, and I think it's time it goes back. They've been very gracious with me, and it's allowed me to just kind of keep SVS as a good reference point. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've left out here. I mean, this is really the TLDR here, guys. If you can fit a larger subwoofer, go for it. You're going to be happy you did. If you can't fit a larger subwoofer, these are two fantastic options. Despite the fact, you know, who cares if they can't play as loud as something like a PB16 Ultra? You don't have the space for one. These are going to be better than having nothing at all by a long shot. Before I added the KEF KC62 upstairs in my living room, I didn't know what I was missing. I just have a pair of speakers up there and it sounded good enough. Now it sounds fantastic. I've got kind of like a mini 2.1 compact home theater up there and it's awesome. I did also test the SVS Micro up there and again, it was absolutely awesome. Both of them looked really good on top of my media console. Anyhow, if you have any questions, ask about them in the comments below. This YouTube channel does have a Discord. Feel free to join. It's totally free. If you do join the Discord, be cool, be polite, don't be an asshole. Until next time, later.